Yes, Kelly, if you'd like to begin the meeting, thank you.
Welcome to the meeting of Henley Town Council's Recreation and Amenities Committee. Today, the 19th of May. I'll start with agenda item 1, election of chairman. Do I have any proposals? Councillor Arlott.
I'd like to, the Mayor actually, I'd like to propose Councillor Hinton.
Thank you, Mr.
I'll second.
Thank you, that's seconded. Are there any other nominations? Okay, all in favour? Thank you very much. Now move on to agenda item 2, election of vice chairman, and from the chair I would like to propose Councillor Crook. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Miller?
I'd like to second that.
Thank you. Any other nominations? I see none. All of those in favour? Thank you very much. Move on to apologies for absence. Town Clerk, are there any apologies for absence?
I don't have any apologies, but I don't know if Becky Walker has had any apologies at all.
She's shaking her head.
No, I've had no apologies either.
Thank you. Are there any declarations of interest? I see none. We move on to public participation. I haven't received any emails. Have any of the officers? I see none. So we move straight on to, one moment. Welcome to the meeting, Councillor Clark. We are just about to move on to agenda item 6, appointment of subcommittees, their terms of reference and their membership. You will see this on pages 5 to 8 that the committee makeup from last year. I haven't had any changes proposed to me so far. Are there any changes that anyone would like to make? Councillor Arlott.
Yeah, Chairman, is there any chance we could get another person on Henley in Bloom? Because I think we have to have 3 councillors on there, or we did used to have 3 councillors on there, and we've only have 3. So I think if anybody is available to go on to that, because we normally meet in the daytime.
I agree with you to have new members. Perhaps one of the Conservatives would like to join us, Councillor Clark or Councillor Plant. I don't think Councillor Plant's here yet, but Councillor Clark, would you like to join us?
That's a no.
I think his audio is still connecting.
Indeed, yes.
Is there anybody else that would like to consider joining Henley and Bloom?
Perhaps we can open it up to full council.
Yeah, absolutely. We can come to it full council and see. Maybe Councillor Hamilton wants to get his fingers a bit greener. Okay, in that case, would anyone, I'll propose the committee stay the same from the chair, subject to any amendments that may be made at full council. Do I have that seconded? Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. All of those in favour? Thank you. Moving on to agenda item 7, little 1, to approve the minutes of the Recreation and Amenities Committee held on the 3rd of March, which are attached to page 9 and 10. Are there any comments?
I'll also move.
Thank you. All in favour? Thank you very much. We now need to receive and consider the notes of the Henley and Bloom and Civic Pride Subcommittee held on the 27th of February. Pages 11 to 13. Are there any comments or amendments that need to be made? Thank you. All in favour? Thank you very much. Now move on to the progress report, which you will find on pages 15 to 16, and we'll go through these one by one. I will try to see if anyone raises their hands. If I miss you, just speak. First on the progress report is the Fairmile Chapel. We then move on to CCTV at Makins. Obviously, this is ongoing. Councillor Eggleton.
Yeah, I was just saying that if we are to go ahead with this, the toilet block on there, that to put a CCTV which covers the play area also covers the toilet block and also covers the car park, because we've had a little bit of antisocial behaviour up there. If we had that, then obviously that might resolve that problem.
Absolutely. I think one of the key things that we need to check is that for the CCTV to be most useful, it needs to be of a certain quality and be able to pick up certain things in whether it's day or night. And obviously, because of what's happened and the situation we're in, we haven't been able to continue with those tests. But it is still ongoing at the moment.
I think its purpose is not just to stop antisocial behaviour and all that sort of stuff, but if anybody had an accident in the skate park, that it's covered that, so you be able to address that straight away.
Oh, we could help them to sue us. That's CCTV. Okay, should we move on to donation of a Slovenian hay rack? You can see we've obviously had an email, and had we been in a normal situation, we would possibly have been installing this hay rack in June or July, but that's currently not the case, and obviously it will come back to this committee via the progress report in the future. Moving on to the Eat Food Festival. At the last Recreation and Amenities meeting, we agreed to move this to August. It may be the case that it might not be able to go ahead. We would hope very much that it can, but we'll await to see how the government guidelines go and how lockdown decreases. We move down to riverbank repairs, and a report will be brought to a further meeting of this committee. Councillor Eggleton.
There, I don't know whether Sheridan was aware, Carl was aware of it. There was one of the big boats down there, or barges, that ripped after the concrete slabs out along with the eyelet, and probably about 10-15 foot of it, I would say. So it was just, all I was saying with those big boats is that when you're looking along the riverbank, you see these concrete bits with the eyelets. Is that because that looked all right, but obviously it wasn't substantial enough to take those type of boats. So whether the whole lot needs looking at, or whether it's just that individual bit.
Town Clerk.
Yes, I was aware. The Parks Manager made me aware of that. We have asked that the whole section, although all that concrete section, is included in the survey, which we hope will be undertaken, so that all those works can be included within the planned works for the coming year.
Thank you.
Okay.
Councillor Crook has her hand up.
Okay, Councillor Crook.
Just an observation, if they're like a Dutch barge size boat, should they not be using 2 eyelets to moor themselves? Do they do that?
They should. I mean, don't quote me on the policy, and Becky would probably have more information. I'm sure if a boat is over a certain size in feet, they have to request permission from the town council to use the moorings. Is that incorrect, or is that to do with commercial boats? I might be confused. No.
Sorry, yeah, just quickly, I think that would be commercial boats.
Right, thank you. Well, we'll look at it thoroughly and determine, obviously, whether we need to do a section or the whole length. Hopefully, it will be that we need to do sections, and that some of our areas are actually perfectly safe. But obviously, safety is going to be paramount throughout. Going down to provision of toilets at Makin's Recreation Ground. This is an agenda item. The Henley Litter Challenge. I would go to Councillor Plant on this. However, he's not here. So hopefully he'll be able to send us an email update after the meeting. Signage working group, as you can see, we've had a meeting recently, and we're due to have another meeting next week. The Lido working group, again, this is something that, oh, sorry, Councillor Eggleton.
Yeah, I was just going to comment on just briefly on the toilets at Makers. If we can have a meeting with me, Ken, and someone from Headways. and
It's
if
an
anybody
agenda
else-
item, Dave.
It's an
Is
agenda
it?
item, so we'll speak to it when we come to
Okay.
the agenda. We won't
problem.
bypass.
Yeah.
Okay, the Lido working group again. We'll see if Councillor Plant can include a brief update after the meeting, and the welcome wall is ongoing. Are there any questions or comments about anything in the progress report before we move on? I see none, so we shall move on to agenda item 9, Park Services update, and I will pass over to our Parks Manager, Carl Bishop. Thank you.
Thank you for that. I'll just keep it brief. Just a little rundown of what's been happening. Basically, over the past couple of months, it's been quite a strange time. So I'll just give you a brief rundown of what's been happening. In March, the playgrounds and the toilets were closed, and they still are to this day. When lockdown began, Park Service were running a skeleton staffing until some of the staff were then furloughed. Myself and Ben stayed on to run a limited service of what we could, going around to the different sites and just checking everything was safe, clean and tidy. And I was also working from home myself. From the 1st of May, we have 3 new members of staff that have joined the team, Luke, Alan and Lex. They've come in, they've started working very well. And as a result, we've most of the staff, well, all the staff came back in as of the 11th of May, and we've completely caught up with grass cutting, bar some pedestrian mowing down at Mill Meadow. So that's really quite positive. So yeah, we came back in. We came back in whilst exercising social distancing, with staggered start and finish times, and that's working very well. So there's no more than 2 people in the workshop at one time. Like I said, we completely caught up with grass cutting, bar and box mowing. We managed to get some tree works done, and this, yeah, we're pretty much running as well as we can be at the moment. We're just carrying on with the season as best as possible. Sorry, a bit stuttery.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Councillor Eggleton.
Question to Carl. It's on the makings with so I've been down there several times where people have been using the skate park, and asked them, and majority of people do move on when you ask them that's the reason it's all taped off. We haven't had very many instances, but with the play areas, but with the skate park, people are consistently using it and ripping the tape down. I've put the tape up probably about 3 or 4 times, and I've no doubt that you've probably done the same. Yeah. So I don't know a way of moving forward with this.
Yes. So just to bring everyone up to speed, we have had a little issue with. I wouldn't say it's anti-social, maybe, I'm not sure, but people wanting to use a skate park, even though it is closed, they do still use it. We have tried, we did get a quote to fence off the skate park, and it was going to be a considerable amount of money per week to fence it off. So we tried a cheaper option. Tried to stake wooden stakes and barrier tape just to give the visual that the skate park is closed. Like Councillor Eggleton said, it's been pulled down a number of times, and we've tried to putting it back up. So I've spoken with Becky and Sheridan about this, and also Kelly, in regards to perhaps we might go ahead with fencing. We've managed to find a better deal price wise. So there could be the possibility of fencing off the skate park.
If I could just add to that, just to let the committee know that this has been a consideration for some time. The police are quite keen to have the skate park fenced, and they did request it. We asked two people whose back gardens back onto Makins just to help us monitor usage of the skate park for 5 days, which they did, and it seemed at the time that there was a lower usage. It was very minimal. However, since the update last weekend, it's caused a bit of confusion because obviously people are being encouraged to exercise as much as they like, and they are more than entitled to go out on their skateboards. We're just saying they can't use this facility. So because of the update last week from central government, it did cause some confusion, and people have obviously been using it a lot more over the last week. So I think it's now the sensible time, as we have no other choice with people not following the rules and accepting, as you say, the visuals we placed there to say this area is out of bounds, that we need to go ahead with that fencing. So well done, Carl. Councillor Eggleton.
It was John. John put his hand up first, Kelly.
Councillor Hooper. You're muted.
Yeah.
Do you want to unmute yourself first? There we are.
Yeah, he's done it. Yeah. I met Carl today. Actually, I phoned Carl up because the
He put his
fence
hand up.
adjoining the fence adjoining the Astra pitch has been pulled down. Again, they are appearing again. We were down there today working, and the boys are turning up again. We've had them also down at Henley Town. And they were caught and told to leave. But on Sunday, the car park down there was absolutely full down at Henley Town, and unfortunately, we had probably 12 or more Asians out on the pitch playing football. And when confronted, they were asked to leave, and they said no, because we're playing football. We want to play football. And they said, can't you read? It says private. You're on CTV camera. And anyway, after a bit of argy-bargy with them, they went. And also in the area, I spoke to, because I was down Henley Town, the police came down on Sunday. The police again, Claire Hewitt, the police came down yesterday to check and make sure that no one else was down there. And she informed me that we must be aware there are a lot of travellers and pikers around the area that are breaking into equipment.
Okay. Can you liaise with Carl about the security measures you might need and obviously share it?
Yeah. I mean, we spoke with Carl today, and he's aware of the situation at Jubilee Park. But unfortunately now, with this lockdown slowly getting out, and the boys are certainly about again on their bikes.
Okay, Councillor Eggleton.
Yeah, the one of the things that when I've asked people at the skate park, you know this is out of use, and they their first response, well, to most of the people that have asked to leave, their response is that Boris Johnson said we could use the skate park. So they obviously got links with Boris Johnson, and they said that it's okay. The other option is, if going what John was saying, if they're pulling fences down and stuff like that, is it worth going to see if there's a type of a security company and seeing how much that costs to just to patrol that area and the other area around Henley for us? Would that be cost effective on that sort of side of it?
We have a security warden. I don't know what the options would be about getting him under contract. Maybe we can I'm aware we're slightly off topic, really. We're not on a set agenda. And maybe this is something we can discuss further by email. Councillor Arlett, Mr. Mayor.
I was going to say, could you leave it to the Carl and the town clerk and maybe yourself just to discuss the issue and look at the best way forward?
Absolutely. I think that makes. Are there any other questions for Carl's report?
No.
No. Sarah, Councillor
Oh.
Miller.
Yeah, I don't know if it's really. It's just really. You probably noticed that it's crazy busy down at Mill Meadows and Marsh as well. And I know we've mentioned this before, but because everyone's out doing their exercise, the amount of bikes we're getting, cyclists along the towpath, I mean, it's just crazy now. You know, you get families of 5 and they're all cycling, and there's total disregard for social distancing, for families out there. I'm just wondering, I know that there was talk of putting some signs up. I haven't seen any. I don't know if they've been ripped down, but I'm just wondering if there's anything that we can do to discourage people from you know, speeding up and down the towpath.
Carl?
Sorry, yeah. There is signs up. There are still signs up, but they have been a couple of them have been pulled down. In regards to, so there is signage. We have also been in contact with a company, I believe, Becky, that is offering chalk signage, stencils that will be put down on the footpath, just kind of a in-your-face message.
Yeah.
Of just reminding people of social distancing. I don't think they have no cycling stencils, but that's something we could possibly talk to the company about.
Okay.
At the entrances to the footpaths. I know it's more apparent now that there's social distancing in place, but there's probably there may be a rise in cyclists along the footpath, to be fair.
I mean, I've got nothing against cyclists. I think everyone should be out there. It's just that particular, you know, that towpath, because it's so thin.
Of course. Of course.
Yeah. Thanks, Carl.
Councillor.
Thank you.
Just one quick thing going on what Sarah was saying is there any way that we could have sort of like cyclists to one side and pedestrians to the other? Because then everybody knows if you actually set that in motion, that then obviously they're keeping away from, so everybody knows where they are, because they did come, some of them do come tearing along there, and it is a straight route along the river. But if you could have it like cyclists to the right or cyclists to the left, then everybody knows where they're going.
I think we can guide people, which is what we're trying to do with signage, but we can't really enforce anything, which is where it becomes a bit of a problem. But we could maybe make our signage a little bit larger. As Carl said, it keeps getting taken down, and they keep replacing it. Are there any other questions for Carl, or should we move on to agenda items?
Councillor Crook has a hand up.
Okay, Councillor Crook.
Right, there we go. No, just to go along with the cyclists, because I walk along the Fair Mile every day, and I do notice there are an awful lot more cyclists. But the other day there was a group of about 8 cyclists, and they were like wheeling all up and down our banks. And you know, it's just like, if you're going to cycle, just go on the road. It's not like an assault course. It's not a BMX track or something. Could they just be a bit more respectful of it, our verges and stuff? So, but I do move out the way when they're coming. So, but like, yeah, they could just be a bit more respectful when they're cycling of pedestrians, people.
Okay, are there any questions for Carl now? Because I'd like to move on to agenda item 10. I see none, but then I'm only seeing a few of you at a time, so who knows? There we are. Right, moving on to agenda item 10, to receive and note the budget. Obviously it's not going to be a massive shocker that our takings on both car park and moorings were considerably down in March. I think we're going to see much of the same when we get the figures for May, June and July also, obviously. Are there any other comments or questions about the budget?
That's all looking good.
Okay, I shall move that through. Yeah, we just need to note it, don't we? Agenda item 11, purchase of pedestrian mowers. You'll see a report on page 19. It's pretty self-explanatory. I don't know if anyone, Carl or Becky, would like to add anything to that. No.
No, no, don't need to add anything, but happy to answer questions if any come up.
Brilliant. Mr. Mayor.
Can I just ask a question? The two worn out mowers, are they worn out or can they be sold? Can we do something with them rather than just dump them?
They are still very prone to breaking down due to the age and usage of them. So that technically, yes.
What?
You could sell them.
Yeah.
Or I could ask if they would part exchange.
One or the other.
Councillor Miller.
Well, I was just going to ask Carl, are the new mowers we're getting, are they are they the same make as the old ones?
Yeah.
I mean, would it be useful to keep them for what's it called? Bits,
Parts.
That's it. Is it or not?
I honestly, I think models move on, and there probably be different parts. Happy to keep them, just in case. But as the mayor said, if they're working, we can probably sell them on or even part exchange them.
Yeah.
Okay. Are there any other questions or comments? Councillor Lambert.
I was just going to propose acceptance, really, of the recommendation 4.1. Our grass is always kept very nice, so we obviously get our mileage out of these things.
Fantastic. Is that seconded? Thank you, Councillor Miller. All of those in favour of the recommendation? Thank you very much. And that's all of us in favour. Moving on to agenda item 12, the tree works budget. Again, there's a good report attached with everything in it. Are there any questions for our estates manager on this report? Councillor Lambert.
Yeah, hi Carl. I just wondered, would it be possible for you to give just a very brief outline of what is actually being done to the trees around 40 Acre Field? The report didn't go into that level of detail. Maybe you can help a bit.
Sorry, was that one for me or for Becky?
Either of you, really. I just wanted to know what was being done to the trees around 40 Acre Field.
Trees around 40 Acre Field.
Hi, so the trees were surveyed. There's probably 250 to 300 trees, and tree works were identified by the surveyor. And they're categorised into different sections. Reds we've already had done because they need to be done quite quickly. These are the orange sections. So there could be many different things. It could be, I mean, we can show you the tree survey if you like. It could be removing a limb or crown lifting or removing dead wood or,
Okay.
you know, there's a whole variety. The works refer to 60 trees. So there's quite a variety.
So the trees aren't actually being removed, they're just being, you know, maintained.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's all looking at health and safety and
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, you have a question?
Yeah, obviously, has this figure come from our contractor that does most of the work for us? So I always feel, you know, are we just going out for one quote on this, or are we going out for 2 or 3 quotes? You know, £11,000 is a fair bit of money.
This is coming from the contractor we use, but later on in the summer / autumn, we are going to go out to tender for the tree works.
It'd be interesting to see what else comes in, you know, rather than just giving someone an open book to quote off.
I think it's quite a large number because of the amount of work that needs doing rather than its expensive work. But I think I take your point, and we'll note that for the summer. Town Clerk, did you raise your hand there?
It was really to add to what Becky has said. Through previous experience, I know that Reading Borough Council are incredibly competitive with price. We do need, with all our large contracts, such as these, rather than going out to tender with every piece of tree work, I think it is better that we take a basket of works, if you like, and put it out to competitive tender, say once every 3 years, for example. Appoint that contractor for all the works for that 3 years, and then look to retender at the end of that time. which is what we'll be looking to do later in the year.
Okay, Councillor Eggleton.
Yeah, they're on the chalk bank. This is for Kyle. If on the chalk bank, there's some trees that I think you've got an open bit of ground which backs into Gainsborough. So you got the chalk bank, and then you got that open space bit. There's a couple of trees one tree right close to the fence, and if it did go over, it's quite high up, and it covers it blocks out quite a lot of light for the garden. And they're more worried about it when it was quite windy, if it come over, and I think it's damaging their fence, and they were worried about if it come over. Several of the neighbours up there are a bit concerned about it.
Okay, yes. So we have recently had a tree survey done of that area. I'm just waiting to go through it. But if there are any works to be done in red, they will be done immediately. Same system as what we was just talking about. All the reds will be done immediately, and orange to green will be done according time-wise.
If there's any chance of
Councillor-
one more bit, is there any chance of just having a look to see if they could be reduced in a little bit of height, so if it did come down, it isn't going to affect their house?
Yeah, they don't. The tree surgeons don't really want to reduce the tree unless it is needed. Obviously, to reduce a tree would be cosmetic, I believe. So that would I think that's a different kettle of fish, really. Absolutely, if there's work needing doing to it, then it will be done, but not just to gain light. They will chop a tree back.
It's mainly on the safety side. It's mainly on the safety side of it rather than light side of it.
So like I say, when the report comes through, if there's any works that need to be done, they will be done.
Okay.
Okay. Are there any other questions before we move this to the vote? I see none. I'm going to propose this from the chair. We have the money to do it. We should do it. We don't obviously want anything to happen, especially with the high winds that we've experienced recently locally. So do I have a seconder to vote for the motion? Thank you, Councillor Lambert. All of those in favour? Thank you, that's passed. We will now move on to item 13, Mill Meadows, the repaving around the Lightlingham Pavilion. There's a very full report on this, pages 23 to 28, which I'm sure all of you have read. They even included some colourful pictures to keep it entertained. This work has been in motion for a very long time coming. Personally, I feel that it's about time we got on with it. It looks awful around there. It becomes slippery, boggy, muddy, wet. It's just it needs redoing. But that's my opinion. Open up to the rest of the committees. Councillor Miller.
Yeah. Oh, I agree with you fully. I mean, this really is a long time coming, and I'm there most days. And yeah, it's. I'm delighted that there's some money in the pot for this, and I would be happy to to agree with everything on 4.2.
Fantastic. If you're proposing that, do I have a seconder?
I am proposing it, yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you, Councillor Isaac. Would you like to say anything to it? Okay. Okay. Would anyone else like to speak to this item before we vote? Mr. Mayor.
Chairman, a lot of this will determine what's already there under the subsurface of the paving slabs or whatever's there. So I think we will need a specification drawn up. I think I read that somewhere. I think the main thing is to do a specification. It may pay to do a couple of trial digs there, first of all, Carl, just to see exactly what is down there. You know, it could be slabs just on soil, or it could be slabs on, you know, 8 inches of hardcore. So you don't want to drag all the hardcore out again if you already got it there.
Sorry, just add to that. We have had one company come out already just to do the initial quote. He came out and he did pull up a slab. He did have a bit of a test. So that's the one of the quotes was based on that. But I agree, it wouldn't hurt to do a couple of test digs.
Just to be clear to committee as well, as per the recommendation in 4.2, which we were about to vote on, a further report will actually go to finance, strategy and management to approve the expenditure. But obviously we'll continue to keep an eye on it on this committee also.
Councillor Clark.
Councillor Clark. Councillor Clark and then Councillor Lambert.
I'm against spending all this money on that at the moment. I would prefer to be spending money on putting more car parking spaces down there on the right hand side going down towards the pavilion. And perhaps you could also put the bled A-rack down there on that side with a couple of nice benches. So when the visitors come to Henley, they can have their picnic out on Mill Meadows.
So we already decided a preferred location for the hay rack, and I understand you've obviously brought some proposals to committee previously about extra parking, which didn't go through. The time lapse, obviously we needed to wait 6 months before discussing again. So we will bring those proposals forward either to the next recreation and amenities agenda or the next open spaces agenda, Councillor Clark. But this is about the paving specifically around the Lyclingham Pavilion and not the car park. Are there any other questions? Councillor Crook, was that you with your hand up?
You need to turn your mute
Councillor
off.
Crook?
Crook. Councillor Crook.
Sorry. Yeah, it's badly needed this because it's a bit of an eyesore, and also to some council what was decided that we make more trees get removed going against the so we keep the hedging, please.
Councillor Eggleton.
I know you're doing it around the pavilion. There's a lot of loose slabs around the bandstand. Are they going to do that at the same time, or is that a different budget?
Yeah.
Town Clerk, can we... Sorry, I cut into Carl. I didn't know if Sheridan would be able to answer that.
I believe Carl would probably be the better person to answer this at the moment.
Yeah, I think that's that would be different. We could perhaps add it as a sub, as like another job. We do have a experienced landscaper on the team now, so it might be a little project to get him going.
Because there are a few loose slabs around that bandstand.
It makes sense to do them at the same time to me, if that's possible. So fantastic. Okay, so are there any other questions before we vote on this? Okay, then, all of those in favour of the recommendation laid out in 4.2. Thank you very much. We now move on to agenda item 14. Everyone's favourite subject, public toilets. Councillor Eggleton, I know obviously when we went to the progress report, you wanted to speak on this, so I will come straight to you on this agenda item.
Thank you, Kelly, Chair. First and foremost, I'd like to have a meeting with Headways and Canala and Mr. Mayor and anybody else that'd like to join in with us Mia and the mayor have been up to have a look at a location in that things, and roughly we worked out where the drainage is and where it could go. That's just a minor issue. And I'm sure Paula will have something to say on this as well. Doing the survey, I don't think it's gone out to enough people, even though it was on a Facebook page and on the town council thing. Bearing in mind, a majority of the people that use the skate park is not just Gainsborough and people in Henley, that people come from Thames, Slough, Maidenhead and all over. They obviously wouldn't have been part of this survey because they didn't know anything about it, because I have asked a few people prior to the lockdown and during the lockdown when people are there, and majority of people don't know anything about the survey. Sorry? No, so I would say carry this, keep going, moving forward until we get some sort of idea moving forward. I know that the pub across the road used to take people over there, but he didn't want people coming over, too many people, especially youngsters. It doesn't look good for a landlord, even though they were coming over just to use the toilets. So he preferred them to use the toilet, have a toilet facility over on Makins. And also, I've seen quite a few people going to toilet in the hedgerows. Not a very pleasant sight, and I'm sure it's not a pleasant sight to people that are visiting Henley either.
Okay, is there anybody else that would like to comment on this? Councillor Miller, and then Councillor Isaac.
This is a really, this is a difficult one. I was really quite surprised at the results from the survey. There was quite a high percentage of people that weren't in favour of having the toilets for all the reasons that I think we've discussed, in, possibly antisocial behaviour, etc., etc. It's a huge amount of money. I think we could keep pushing the ball and we can keep sending surveys until, but I think everyone who's answered the survey has possibly said what they feel, and from what I've read, there doesn't seem to be a need, or they don't want a toilet. Not now. I'm not saying that perhaps in time we can look at it again. I think that appropriate signage pointing people to Grays Road, perhaps would work for now. Use the money for something else. That we're coming out of lockdown now. It's a heck of a lot of money. We could perhaps do something else in the town. Just a thought. Sorry, don't. But that's what I think.
I get your point. Councillor Isaac.
Just briefly, just to add to what David said, I think the skate park is a state-of-the-art facility, and lots of people travel from far and wide to use it, and I think maybe the facilities there should reflect that. I just wondered, I'd like to propose, maybe if possible, and if everyone's happy, that perhaps we put the survey out at a later point, but when it's at peak use. The survey did go out sort of during the quieter months when people aren't out using the skate park as much, so it might not be at the front of people's minds. That might be a sensible thing to do. Maybe put it out again later when it's at its peak time, and see what the people think then.
Okay, and can I also thank you for all of the work you did in trying to get as many people as possible to fill out the consultation, because you did share it quite a lot, and you did, spread it. It's just getting people to actually take the survey. Councillor Lambert, you had your hand up.
I did, thank you. I just felt the argument in point 4.5 was quite compelling, actually, because it mentioned how Actually, the Grays Road car park toilets are very close, and perhaps with adequate signage, people saw that it was only 6 minutes away. They wouldn't necessarily think of the skate park as a place with no toilet. I mean, if you're really desperate for the toilet, 6 minutes is not the end of the world. And I think the other points made in the report about, the overwhelming majority of users being within walking distance and not needing a toilet is also quite compelling. And so I echo Councillor Miller's comments that maybe it's not a great use of money at the moment. But I wouldn't rule it out. I also have sympathy for Councillor Isaac's point of view of putting out a survey at a better time as well.
Okay, Councillor Eggleton.
Yeah, and Mr. Clark wants to say something as well. I don't think, because they're saying about antisocial behaviour, the actual amount of people that actually commented on the survey was 85 people. So I don't think that's very many people based on the population of Henley. So they say to create antisocial behaviour. We've got a little bit of that going on. We've got graffiti going on. So I don't think that it would create any more. It would just enhance the park with this state-of-the-art skate park that we should have facilities there. So, I mean, I'm going on what Glenn said and what Sarah said. If you've got people that park in lay-bys to go and shop, and they've got a car which they could use the car park and walk from the car park to the shop, which they won't do, and that's 2 seconds away. So if they're not going to get out of their car from the car park and walk round to the shop, but they want to park right outside the shop, you've got no chance of anybody walking from the skate park down to the car park.
Councillor Clark, did you want to say anything?
I agree with Councillor Lambert. The people of Henley have voted for it, so we must take what they say. The percentage is 64% against, and the signage to the car park toilets, which I would approve and second it as well. Thank you.
Councillor Crowe.
Yeah, no. Well, I was in favour, but like agreeing with Councillor Clark and Lambert and Councillor Miller, like we are coming out of lockdown and we will have to tighten our belts just for now. So maybe if we put it on hold. But the thing is, if we did another survey in a while and it still came back, will you still want another survey done until you get the right answer? Do we have to keep doing, you're going to have to listen to people if they don't want it, not to be negative or anything. You've done a great job, Paula, by the way, but it's just that if...
Mr. Mayor.
People are the people of Henley. The last time I counted, there's about 12,000. So that's a very small percentage, may even be about 1%. I'm in favour of trying to progress it. And Councillor, the Deputy Mayor mentioned about a meeting with, remind me, Councillor Mayor, Councillor Eggleton, with Headway. At the back of Headway, there's an area there which is right where the drains are. And my belief is if you could just build a small brick and block building there, everything vandal proof, it's not going to cost you an arm and a leg there. So I'd like to go and have a meeting with Headway first of all, and see if they would be prepared for us to take a wee bit of land back there, and then just may just go out to tender, just draw a small block of toilets up, a couple of toilets there, brick and block, and just get an architect to draw one up and go out to tender, and it will cost you nowhere near that. But I can guarantee 85 people in Henley is not even a minority.
Okay, is there anybody else that would, Councillor Clark?
I would just like to say you've got to listen to the people. They voted against it. So please take note of what the residents of Henley want and don't want. Don't waste taxpayers' money for something that the people of Henley don't want. Thank you.
Can I just explain to him again, Madam Chairman, 85% is a very, very low minority, and I'm fully aware of what the people of Henley voted for a year ago. And it wasn't negativity.
Right, shall we, I haven't heard a proposal. I feel uncomfortable due to the split of the committee in making a proposal myself. So can I have a proposal? We'll vote on it. If it falls, we'll vote the other way. Councillor Eggleton.
I propose that we have a meeting, look into it further. I'm not saying that this has got to be done like ASP straight away. Like Donna said, with all the with tightening our belts and all that sort of stuff. But I would say to keep this on the agenda, do another survey, and it's not getting a survey to see what and keep going, get these surveys. I don't think this survey that was done, Paul had done a fantastic job on it, but it needs to go out to a wider amount of people. It's not the skate park wasn't just built for Henley. So my proposal is that we keep this on the agenda, have a meeting and go forward, and then see what it entails a little bit later on. Councillor Arlott. Can't hear you.
Mr. Mayor, are you seconding? You need to unmute yourself if you're seconding Councillor Eggleton.
Yeah, I'll second it.
Okay, all of those in favour of that proposal. I'm going to try and count moving across the screen. So thank you. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4. Okay, so that falls. Would anyone like to make another proposal?
Sorry, that was 4-4.
It was 4.
How many against?
4, yeah.
Sorry,
There was 1, 2, 3, 4.
Who's against? Sorry, can I have any votes against? 1,
5.
2.
Are you taking the vote for?
Taking the vote for Kelly.
So, for Dave's proposal, can I have those all in favour of Councillor Eggleton's proposal? So that's 4 in favour of Councillor Eggleton's proposal. Can I now have all of those against Councillor Eggleton's proposal? That's 3. So is that 3? Yeah. So that is carried.
Sorry, Madam Chair, I believe that was 4. I believe it was Councillor Miller, Councillor Clark, Councillor Lambert and Councillor Crook. I believe you may wish to recheck the votes against.
Okay, so it's 4 all. In that case, I'm going to use the casting vote as chair because I didn't vote either way. And I'm going to go with the recommendation in 4.7. So I'm going to vote against Councillor Eggleton's proposal because where I feel best, I feel like we should go with officers and consultations. So would anyone like to make another proposal? Councillor Lambert.
Could I propose that we, when circumstances permit, have our own consultation? Obviously, under lawful development, we don't need planning permission, so there won't be an official public consultation. But, just for more clarity than the survey could offer, just have a consultation ourselves in the town hall and just see what people think. That's my proposal.
To have another consultation.
This is when, Councillor Lambert, is this now? What?
No, this would be months in the future when we could actually have such an event. I'm saying we don't do anything now, but we, at a suitable time, have our own consultation in the town hall where we can actually gather public opinion properly and people can know about it and access it fairly.
I'll second that.
I can second that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So put it on pause for now until
I think definitely on pause.
Time. Yeah. I think
until we can have a proper consultation.
Okay. That was seconded. I forgot who by, sorry.
Councillor Eggleton, I believe.
Oh yeah, Councillor Eggleton. All of those in favour of Councillor Miller's proposal? Well, okay, that's everybody, isn't it? Okay, thank you. We will come back to that at a later date. Joyous. It's been on the agenda only a few years anyway. Shall we move on to the final agenda item? And if there's one thing we know about our town clerk, it's that he loves a policy. Loves a policy, and he happens to be pretty good with policies, so that's a bonus. You will find this policy on 39 to 42, sorry, pages 39 to 42. Is there anything you'd like to add to that, Sheridan?
Nothing much to add to it, just to say that the purpose of this policy, we have had policies, this just brings together and fleshes them out to try and make it a bit more comprehensive, so that we don't so that it should cover all eventualities for benches or memorials placed on our land.
Okay, are there any questions or comments or any amendments anyone would like to suggest? I see none. I assume we need to vote on this, Town Clerk.
Yes, indeed. Yes,
so I'm going to propose it from the chair. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Miller. All of those in favour of accepting this policy, approving it? Mr. Thank you. Great, thank you all very much for your attendance this evening. That's the agenda complete.